Lawyers of Reddit, what's the stupidest case you've been asked to take on, and did you? My father is a patent attorney, and when I was around 14 he told me about a guy who wanted to patent the iPhone 3 because aliens had given him the design for it. My father told him that if the aliens originally designed, then they were the ones that had to patent it, not him. Genius. I had a client come in saying that he needed to sue Stu for robbing all his checks. When I asked him if Stu had a last name, he said no. When I asked him if he knew any Stu, he said no. When I asked him what proof he had that Stu was robbing him, he showed me all of his pay stubs. There were clear, monthly deductions by SCU. As soon as I saw it, I knew. I asked, "Do you have children?" He said yes. I then told him, "Your Stu is the SCU, the Support Collection Unit. They take money out of your check to pay for your child." He left the office insisting that we needed to find Stu. That's just really sad. I did insurance defense for a long time, including insurance fraud investigations for insurance companies. You wouldn't believe how many people take a video inventory of their house only to have it mysteriously burn down the next day. You really can't fix stupid. So, how long prior to the fire should one video the inventory of one's home? Asking for a friend who just got a new video camera and likes to smoke in bed. Woman wanted me to sue McDonald's because their employees beat up her son, who was trying to rob the place. When I was in law school I did the criminal defense clinic where we help a public defender. I say help because they just give you small cases to do by yourself. I had a guy accused of shoplifting a yellow FUBU shirt. Guess what he wore to the trial? A GD yellow FUBU shirt. I asked the prosecutor to reoffer the plea deal. She did, and I convinced the guy to take community service and probation, if I remember correctly. Our public defender system is tragically overworked and underfunded. But a guy who has an abundance of yellow FUBU shirts is less likely to shoplift another. Probably too late here, but I was a civil rights investigator. We had one guy complain that he was fired from his factory job because of his race. He was black. Owner of the factory said it was because the guy was smoking crack on his lunch break. Turns out he was smoking crack on his lunch break, but so were a few of his white coworkers, and they were not fired. The owner agreed to pay the guy 6 months of back pay and give him a neutral reference. That sounds like a really fucky case. Technically he was wrong, but technically he was correct. A lady in prison in my state tried to sue the State Department of Corrections for holding her against her will. Her lawyer wouldn't touch it. It takes a special kind of stupid to try that. I had a teacher that worked for a major video game publisher, one of the top 10 ones. He told me that when people tried to sue them for small amounts due to some game being bad, they would just pay whatever the person wanted. It was cheaper than dealing with the country's terrible justice system. Except one day a guy sued them because a game was bad. He was a law student, self-representing, and tried to throw the book at the company. They decided to make an exception for this guy. They instead threw the book back at him. The lawsuit kept escalating until both sides wasted lots of time and money. Then as final stroke, they offered to settle in front of a judge. They're in front of the judge. They put the price of the game on the table in cash, and told the guy to just take it and stop bothering them. The judge thought it was very fair, and told the guy that if he refused that settlement he would be fined. Guy was very unhappy. He expended like $5,000 in bureaucracy and airplane fares to get $60. A lady once called asking us to sue her neighbors. They were using voodoo on her. Fortunately, she had psychic powers and thus knew what they were doing. I respectfully declined. Voodoo only works if you believe it does. Just tell any targets to stop believing in it, because believing gives it power. Client wanted to sue because there were no strawberries in her fruit salad which she bought from a supermarket. Thankfully a secretary was able to screen the call. She asked if the package said it had strawberries, and the response was, no, but I thought it would have. I don't know how these people manage to make it through life. Without going into too many details, had a guy that wanted to bring a class action against the company that made his underwear, because he was convinced his underwear was the reason he had a crooked D. He assured us that as soon as the jury saw his D, they'd side with him. No, we didn't take it. He assured us that as soon as the jury saw his D. Crazy person, or extremely clever person with a very specific fetish. We'll never know. My mother said that at a law firm she used to work at many years ago they had received a call from a gentleman that wanted to file a lawsuit against Walt Disney. When asked why he was filing suit, he claimed that the Disney characters were coming out of the TV and stealing food from his refrigerator. They told him they'd take the case for an advance fee of $100,000 and never heard back from him. A guy found a rock in the middle of Melbourne CBD that he believed came from an underground volcano, therefore he discovered the volcano and he owned the volcano, and that the Melbourne City Council and indeed the Victorian government should pay him rent to live on top of his underground volcano. No, I did not take on the case. Fun fact, Australia is the only continent with no active volcanoes. I was called by a gentleman, I use the term loosely here, who wanted me to get his son-in-law out of jail from a drug possession charge. Before I could respond, he starts spilling the story. Police were called to the mobile home park for a domestic disturbance between the man and his wife. Call said he was beating the hell out of her in the front yard for the whole neighborhood to see, and they had better hurry. When they arrive on site, the man has calmed down and is sitting in his truck smoking a cigarette, and the woman was bloody, couple of broken bones, if I remember correctly, but was screaming from the front porch and throwing his personal items out the front door. As is regular habit, first thing the police do is ask if there are any firearms around they need to worry about since she has gone back inside. The man says, no, his pistol should be in the box on the back seat. Police ask him if they can open the box to verify it was there. He says sure. When they did, they find no gun, but lots of drugs. He says, oh right, guns under the passenger's seat. Police retrieve the gun and take him into custody for the drugs. What makes this the stupidest case is that I got my call from the man's father-in-law who wanted to hire me to go get the guy out of jail and defend him on the charges. I thought a minute about the parties, then asked, if he is your son-in-law, then wouldn't your daughter be the woman who he was beating? He said, yay, but he is probably the best she is going to do for herself. I did not take the case because I am a patent lawyer. I don't practice criminal or family law, and definitely do not want to. You choose a DVD for tonight. I remember the first time I saw a tweaker at Walmart. We were standing in line and she was ranting about how the government had planted a chip in her head to control her thoughts. It was bizarre. Lawyer for 12 years. Client was charged with stealing a mobile toilet. After we won, he told me he still owns it. The fucker has the thing in his backyard because he was lazy as F. His office was nearby. Forced him to deliver it back at night. Jesus, still offended that he lied to me the whole time. Deleted. When I was a summer associate, I worked on a case where a lady was suing her apartment complex because she walked out of her unit, slipped on duck poop, and injured herself. We repped the apt complex. The associate I was working for told me to slip as many bird-based puns into the motions pleadings as possible. I happily obliged. Are you telling me you actually practiced bird law? When I was a federal prosecutor, an NCIS agent wanted me to prosecute federally someone living near the base for flying the U.S. flag the wrong way. I didn't. He was miffed. Damn it, Gibbs. I used to be a forensic social worker at a public defense organization, i.e., the people who provide lawyers for poor people when they get charged with crimes. You would not believe how many people believed that filing a police brutality lawsuit would result in their criminal charges going away. I mean, yes, police brutality is real. but you totally still committed a crime. Not a lawyer but worked for a large national insurer who dealt with frivolous lawsuits frequently. Idiot is visiting friends in the country and gets drunk, decides to wander across the street to the driveway of a farm. Ignores the multiple signs that say, "No trespassing," and "Beware dog," in both English and Spanish. Gets to the end of the driveway and there's a large dog chained to a post in the front yard barking its head off at him. Farmer comes out and tells the idiot to stay away from the dog. Idiot says something to the effect that he's good with dogs and tries to pet the dog. Dog takes off his finger and the idiot drops his beer bottle as he runs back the way he came. Owner tries to save the finger for reattachment but the guy disappears, and so the farmer turns everything over to the police. Shortly thereafter we denied the idiot's claim and he lawyers up. Every time he lawyered up we'd send the documents to the lawyer. Lawyer would review and then drop the case. Happened multiple times. Idiot insisted we needed to pay for his emotional trauma. SMH.